Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at a really fascinating story of digital transformation at one of the giants of healthcare, Siemens Healthineers.
Right, a company most of us know for, the big machines,
Yeah,
the hardware.
exactly. For over a century, they've been the name in those million-dollar MRI and CT scanners you see in every hospital. But our sources show this profound shift happening.
Yeah, they're moving away from being just a hardware manufacturer.
It's way more than that. They're trying to build a digital nervous system for the entire healthcare industry.
And the term for that pivot is digital servitization. At its core, it's about shifting from that one-time sale of a big machine to an ongoing, data-driven service relationship. And the centerpiece of all of this is their platform, Teamplay.
Okay, let's unpack that. The ambition here seems huge. They want to go from being a product supplier to an ecosystem orchestrator.
That's the goal, to elevate and scale the healthcare system, as they put it.
So our mission today is to really dig into how they're using their one massive, uncopyable asset, that huge global footprint of devices, to pull this off.
The thing is, this change wasn't really optional for them. It was forced by these really powerful interconnected trends.
You mean like demographics, the aging population and all that?
Precisely. You have aging populations, a rise in chronic diseases.
Yeah.
And that puts just, extreme pressure on health systems everywhere.
Eh.
Their CEO, Bern Montag, framed it as needing to deliver better outcomes for lower costs.
And you can't solve that equation with just a better scanner.
You just can't. You need efficiency, and efficiency comes from data.
And the amount of data we're talking about is just mind-boggling.
It's an explosion. I saw one estimate that by 2025, we'd be generating over 400 exabytes of health data daily.
Wow.
And that data is useless if it's just stuck in silos on individual machines. Teamplay was really their answer to harness all of that.
And then there was the competition. They couldn't just stand still.
Not at all. The digital health market was already worth over $230 billion back in 2022. Their main rivals were already making big moves.
Right, like Philips and GE.
Exactly. Philips with HealthSuite, GE Healthcare with its Edison platform. They were all moving aggressively into digital. Even the tech giants, like, the IBM Watson Health experiment, showed the game was changing.
So if they didn't become a software company, someone else would basically build that valuable data layer on top of their hardware.
They'd risk being commoditized. But, and this is the key, they had this incredible head start.
The installed base.
The install base. By 2019, they had over 230,000 devices out there in the world. That's not just a number, it's an instant data source, and more importantly, a foundation of customer trust.
So that became the bedrock for their whole new strategy.
It did. Their Strategy 2025 and the new ambition phase that followed put digital, data, and AI right at the core. It's a classic industrial playbook, really.
Like GE Aviation moving from selling jet engines to
selling power by the hour. Exactly. You're not buying the machine, you're buying the uptime, the outcome. Siemens decided they were going to sell outcomes, not just iron.
So this whole journey with Teamplay started pretty early, right? Back in 2013 as a prototype.
Yeah, it evolved over a few years and then formally launched as a full SaaS and PaaS platform around 2017.
Which was a smart move. It means hospitals could subscribe without a huge upfront IT investment.
Right, but there was a massive technical hurdle they had to clear first. For this to work, the platform had to be vendor neutral.
Because a big hospital isn't just using Siemens gear.
Of course not. They have GE, Philips, all sorts of equipment running side by side. If Teamplay only spoke Siemens, it would have been, dead on arrival.
Okay, but hold on. Isn't that a bit like letting the fox guard the henhouse? I mean, if they're aggregating data from their competitors' machines, doesn't that give them an edge?
That's a great question. And it's really the core of the strategy. It's a strategic choice. They had to be seen as a neutral unifier to get buy-in.
So trust was everything?
Everything. That's why they invested so much in data governance, setting up 7 global data centers to meet rules like GDPR and IPI.
And getting that European privacy seal in 2020, that must have been a huge deal for convincing European hospitals to move patient data to the cloud.
It was absolutely vital. It was the trust signal they needed. It basically says your cloud solution meets the absolute strictest data protection standards out there.
Okay, so once they built that foundation of trust, they started rolling out these quick win apps.
Yeah, things with immediate, obvious value, like Teamplay Dose to monitor radiation exposure for patient safety.
Or Teamplay Usage, which is the one that speaks to the CFO, the one that says, hey, that MRI scanner on the second floor is only being used half the time?
Exactly. And then there's Teamplay Protocols, which is all about efficiency. Instead of sending a technician to a dozen different sites to update a scanner protocol,
You just push it out from a central dashboard?
right, it cuts down variability, boosts efficiency. It's a huge win.
And that's the functionality that lets it become more than just a tool, right? It becomes a true platform, an app store for hospitals.
Precisely. They started bringing in curated partners, smaller companies doing amazing things like digital wound assessment or care coordination. SHS provides the pipes, the integration, the customer base.
And they're really careful about that data privacy piece, even with their big partners.
They have to be. They make it very clear that neither Siemens Healthineers nor IBM has access to the healthcare data without consent. That's the backbone of the whole ecosystem.
And then in 2023, they introduced Teamplay Fleet, which kind of closes that servitization loop.
It really does. It moves beyond clinical data into pure asset management. A 247 portal for service history, cybersecurity, upgrade planning.
That's value for the C-suite.
Absolutely. There was this great example of Allier, a diagnostics provider in Brazil. They said Fleet helped them make more precise depreciation estimates for their shareholder reports.
When your platform is helping the finance team with their balance sheet, you know you're delivering real business value.
You're way beyond the exam room at that point.
Now, this all sounds great from the outside, but shifting a century-old hardware-first company, I mean, that must have caused some serious internal friction.
Oh, it was a colossal internal culture war. You have to understand, SHS was built on these incredibly successful but separate silos. Fiefdoms, really.
The CT division, the MRI division.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And their managers were the world's leading experts in selling that specific piece of hardware. Suddenly they're being told they have to become beginners in this new digital world.
I can just imagine the resistance. The MRI guys are generating billions in profit, and that money is being poured into this unproven platform, Teamplay.
That was the core dilemma. Every new digital initiative was compared to the billion-dollar business of MRI.
Right.
To overcome that, they had to build what academics call dynamic capabilities.
The ability to actually steer the giant ship.
In a way, yeah, it's about sensing the change coming, seizing the opportunity, and then reconfiguring your resources to respond.
So how did they do that? How do you actually build that?
Well, they started with what they called sensing and coalition building. They created this thing called the T-Club, the Transformation Club.
A safe zone?
Kinda, yeah. A place for managers from different silos to talk about platform models without the immediate pressure of P&L. They also appointed digital ambassadors to champion the new way of thinking from the ground up.
Okay, that handles the mindset. But what about the speed? Hardware development takes years. Software is all about move fast and break things.
And that was the hardest part, the reconfiguring. They had to completely redesign their R&D, moving from those slow hardware cycles to agile methods, continuous delivery.
So new skills, new people, DevOps.
A whole new world for them. A massive investment when your entire legacy is built on slow, methodical manufacturing precision.
And even with all that internal work, they're still in this race for market share.
A huge race. They're up against other big incumbents building their own platforms, Philips HealthSuite, GE's Edison.
And that creates a big risk for hospitals, right? The risk of platform fragmentation.
For sure. If a hospital with mixed equipment have to log into 3 different vendor platforms to get a complete picture, the whole value proposition just falls apart.
Which is why that vendor-neutral stance is so critical for them.
It's their key differentiator. They want to be the one platform that unifies everything.
But the big existential question has to be monetization. Customers are already paying millions for the hardware. Why are they pushing back on paying more for the software?
It's a classic business model gap. People are used to buying a product and getting the software for free, or as part of the price. They see these new services as an optional add-on, not the main event.
So how did Siemens handle that?
They took a hybrid approach. For a lot of customers, they bundled basic Teamplay access into the service contracts for the hardware. That drives adoption and makes the whole offering stickier.
And for the premium stuff?
They use tiered subscriptions. So if you want the advanced AI apps, you pay more. But that core tension is still there. As of last year, it was still a bit unclear.
The big question being, is Teamplay a tool to sell more hardware, or is it going to be a profit engine in its own right?
That's the billion-dollar question.
Yeah.
And it requires a ton of ongoing investment to figure that out.
But the adoption numbers show they're onto something. By late 2020, they'd tripled their customer base in just 2 years, up to 6,500 institutions. That suggests network effects might be starting to kick in.
It shows they solved the really hard problems of trust and integration. And you have to see this as more than just a software product. Teamplay is the pillar that connects their whole future vision.
Things like patient twinning and precision therapy.
Right. It's all enabled by this flow of digital data and AI. This whole transformation meant they had to act like a nimble startup while still being a massive industrial giant.
So for you, listening to this, what's the big takeaway? If you're interested in digital strategy, especially in a high-stakes industry like healthcare.
I think it shows how a legacy company can successfully leverage its old-world assets, that installed base, that deep domain trust, to become a modern platform orchestrator.
It's a case study in just how high the stakes are for digital transformation, especially when mistakes can literally be life or death.
And the immediate future for Teamplay? It all comes down to financial sustainability. The ultimate question for the entire market is whether providers will keep seeing these platforms as an optional extra, or if they will finally accept that data insights and system efficiency are now the primary value they're buying, justifying the cost of the platform even more than the hardware itself. That pivot in valuation from product to outcome will be the true measure of their success.